Welcome to the homestead. I really wanted to do another homeschool video. We just got done with our homeschooling day and I thought I'd sit down and give you a few thoughts on what I have been seeing online lately. I follow a lot of the homeschool blogs online. It's actually one of my very favorite things to do in my downtime, and probably very nerdy of me as well. But I love doing it. I love hearing what other people have to say about homeschool. Everyone right now, this is July, everyone right now is purchasing or thinking about what they're going to use for the following year. So there's a lot of bloggers that are right now giving you their curriculum picks for the 2018-2019 school year. So there's a lot going on in the blogger, video blogging world about homeschool right now. And I find it fascinating because I love to see what other people are choosing. Even if it's not something I would use, I think, oh yeah, that's kind of cool. I like that. Oh, that's a good idea. I'm going to stick to what I'm doing, but hey, that's a good idea. I love to see what people are doing. So I love watching these videos. It came to my attention recently. There was a curriculum that I had used last year that I quit 2/3 through. I quit 2/3 the way through the year. And I'm going to tell you what that is because there is a lot of controversy surrounding this curriculum in the homeschool world right now. And that is the good and the beautiful. Some people really love it and it works for them. I really loved it too. I really wanted it to work for my family, but it didn't. And I went to Zach and I said, these are a number of reasons, and I will tell you the reasons in a moment. These are a number of reasons why I think, because I don't think it's a good fit for us. And so I always kind of run that past my husband just so I can get his thoughts on it, because it shouldn't just be my decision. Homeschooling should also be the husband's decision, and I appreciate him being my sounding board. Anyway, so I went to him and I said, this is a number of things about this curriculum that are just not working for us. What do you think? And he agreed with me. He says, yeah, that just doesn't sound like something that we should be doing. Okay, fast forward several months. This was probably about 3 months ago. Fast forward several months and I'm seeing that others are feeling differing viewpoints about the good and the beautiful, which came to my attention. Like I said, I love watching videos. So, but I found it really interesting because the reasons that they were throwing out stopping using this curriculum were different than mine. The main reason I saw going around the homeschool world is because of the curriculum being written by a Mormon author. Which I thought was interesting because that is not what bothered me. As a Torah practicing homeschooling mom, anything goes through my Torah filter. And so whatever religion it is, whatever sect of Christianity it is, whatever denomination, to me it still goes through my filter. And I have a very strong filter, and so it's always on. So for me, it's very easy to put those things through my lens to teach my children, okay, yes, but how is that different than what the Torah says? So we're always having those conversations. The Mormonism, that did not bother me. What bothered me about the good and the beautiful actually came from my son very early on. He began to complain about it being too girly, which is really crazy because he was right. It is for him being a boy who loves to run around in the woods, who loves to shoot his BB gun, collect rocks, and dig in the dirt, look for tadpoles at the creek. I mean, both of my boys are very hands-on. They are boys. So The Good and the Beautiful was incorporating some very girly poetry, some very girly artwork, drawing flowers. Well, my boys don't want to draw flowers. I mean, just, you guys, just keeping it real. They don't want to draw flowers, and I am not going to require them to draw flowers. I felt like at every turn of the page, I was kind of trying to incorporate something that was maybe more something that they would enjoy doing. Okay, so let's draw this instead, or let's read this poem instead. Okay, so who wants to do that with a curriculum, right? You might as well not even have a curriculum, because if you're constantly requiring it to be changed to fit your child's interest, yeah, I think you get what I'm saying. There's nothing wrong with a good and beautiful curriculum. I really wanted to love it, and I did love it myself, and that's the point, that I loved it myself. It wasn't good for my rough and tumble boy who wants to be out digging in the dirt and maybe more interested in examining rocks than he is drawing a flower. That was his reason. My reason for actually finally making the decision to move on to something else was that I had been seeing over and over and over that the examples in the curriculum, quotes and poetry and different literature in the curriculum was from very, in my opinion, obscure authors. I feel that I am very well read. I feel that I know the authors that I want my children to be well acquainted with, and to have a well-rounded education, they should be well acquainted with people like Robert Louis Stevenson, Rudyard Kipling, Shakespeare eventually, although we have not gotten to Shakespeare yet. I feel that that's an older level because of the material. Although my son could read it, the material, I feel, is too advanced for him. I think maybe you understand what I'm saying. Those authors are here. I felt that The Good and the Beautiful was picking authors that they felt were good and beautiful, writing good and beautiful things, but they were so obscure that most people have never even heard of them. I had never heard of them, and like I said, I feel that I'm probably more well-read than most parents are. It's just because I'm a nerd. I already said I'm a nerd, so I've always loved to read, and so for me, seeing that over and over, these obscure authors was kind of troubling for me, that we would raise the standard so high of what is appropriate for our children to read that we can only find that appropriateness in obscure authors. That was really unacceptable to me, because I feel that we can find appropriate things for our children to read in very well-known, high-standard authors. People like Dickens, people like, I already mentioned a couple of the others that I feel are up here. So that's why we moved on from The Good and the Beautiful. And it is not, this takes me to my next topic, which I really feel that we should not look down on someone for maybe choosing another curriculum from ourselves. Maybe you love The Good and the Beautiful, and maybe this is making you a little nervous right now because I had recommended it before and I'm not using it now. Maybe you still love it, and maybe you have little girls that love it, or maybe your boys do too. I don't know. It is working great for you. I say stick with it. If it works for you, stick with it. Don't look at me and my curriculum choices, or any of the blogging world and their curriculum choices as, oh, she thinks it's bad, so what am I going to do now? No, if it's good for you, keep using it. The first, and this, I just have 3 points of why someone would choose a different curriculum. And I really feel like if we can keep these in mind, we'll be a lot better off in looking at other people's schooling philosophies, curriculum choices, and realizing that everybody is different. I mean, we say this over and over in the homeschool world. Everybody is different. Everybody's needs are different, but it really is true. And when people come to me and say, what should I do for homeschool? I get those questions. I can't answer that for you. It would be impossible for me to answer that for you because I am not you. I'm not living in your family. I don't know what your needs are. So real quick, 3 points. The first reason for changing a curriculum would be that a kid just doesn't excel with this curriculum. It's not a good fit for him. And I already explained a few examples with the good and the beautiful why it didn't fit with my child. Too girly. Yeah, I listened to that because, the thing is with a curriculum or any resource you choose, if your child is not engaged with it, they're turning off their brain. They are not liable or very likely to learn as much as they would with something that they are engaged with. That is why we call it interest-led learning. That's a big word that goes around in homeschool circles, to just simply that. Give your child something that they're interested in, because then they're engaged and they're going to remember it and they're going to digest that material and make it their own. So that's the number one. The kid just doesn't excel. Number 2 is that perhaps this curriculum that you've been using doesn't fit your season of life. Now this is a really big deal, especially for people who have multiple children. I only have 2 children, but this coming year, Caleb is entering kindergarten, and I'm realizing I'm going to have to devote more time to his learning. I really want to focus more on teaching him to read, which means that Joshua gets less of my attention. So the history curriculum I chose this year goes along with that, because this first time I've actually chosen a history curriculum because Joshua will be primarily independent and able to do it on his own. I'm no longer picking and choosing every single book for history that I give to him. So that's the second reason, season of life. The third reason, and there's any number of things that could go along with that. Maybe you're pregnant, you just don't have time, or maybe there's an interest that the family wants to study together. So your season of life, maybe you're moving off grid, for example. Maybe you're planting a garden for the first time and you really want your science lessons to be focused around what the garden produces and how to, the season of life can incorporate so many different resource changes. So that's the second one. The third one is that a curriculum simply doesn't fit your family values. Zach and I, for example, are pretty strong in our knowledge of creation science. Him more than me, I've kind of learned through osmosis. But he's pretty strong in his creation science. So when we read science, we're always looking at it through that lens. Does this fit the young earth creationist viewpoint? And so I am not so concerned about our kids reading something that is perhaps evolutionary based, because they are getting that viewpoint, but we always pick it apart. I have my oldest who can read. I have him read to me all the time. So how does that compare with what you know already? How does it compare to the Bible? You may not be as strong in creation science as perhaps Zach and I are, and so you would want something that is more, can fill in those gaps for you. That's just one example. Your family values play into it a lot. Another curriculum that is very well talked about in the homeschool world, and I think I showed it to you as something I was going to use on one of my last homeschool videos, is the story of the world. And it's very rare to meet a homeschool mom that has not tried Story of the World or used it and loved it. I do not love it. But that's just me. You may love it. I thought there was too many magical elements in it for me. It didn't fit my family values. I didn't like how they charted the age of the earth. They say that they're young earth, but they're really not. I mean, in my opinion, they're really not. In your opinion, they may work for you. So we quit that too, and I moved on to something else as when I felt like it was just not fitting our values. So that's the third reason. So when you see someone change curriculum, maybe from something that you love to something else, you kind of get shocked a little bit and think, what am I doing wrong? What does she know that I don't know? Don't do that. Just stay the course. Do what you love. If you can school with what you love, if you can school with what your kids love, you're going to be successful. I hope that helps somebody, and if you like homeschool videos, give us a thumbs up, and we'll see you next time on the Homestead.